So, great. Want to welcome everyone into the room. We'll be starting the program in just a couple of minutes. If you have a chance, please quickly grab a glass and be ready to join us in a New Year's toast in about 10 minutes. And I think we're about ready to start the program. If you can stop sharing the slides, we will begin. Happy New Year, everyone. Shinnen akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to the 32nd annual New Year's reception of Keizai Silicon Valley. We're able to be joined by everyone from around the world this year, thanks to Zoom, and unfortunately because of the lingering pandemic. This year, want to be sure to remind you, if you can, to grab a quick glass and be ready to have a New Year's toast with us in 10 minutes or so. I'm Richard Dasher. I direct the U.S. Asia Technology Management Center at Stanford University. And we're very pleased to be able to be the Zoom hosts for the meeting today. And I would like to, without further ado, turn over the microphone to Ms. Chimi Shioya, who is the CEO of Keizai Silicon Valley, and ask Chimi to give her New Year's message.
Thank you so much, Richard, for your introduction. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm Chimi Shioya, President and the Board Director of Keizai Silicon Valley. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and the operations team at Keizai, we would like to welcome you to this annual Shinnenkai, even though it is virtually. We hope to be able to be in person, as Richard mentioned, perhaps next year. Now, I would like to mention that there are quite a few people from Japan as well. So, 日本からの参加していただいている皆様、おはようございます。そしておめでとうございます。本年もどうぞ良い年になりますようにお祈りしております。今日は日本からの参加ありがとうございます。So perhaps some of you are attending Keizai event for the first time. So I would like to take a brief moment to introduce Keizai to you. Based in Silicon Valley, Keizai is a non-profit organization managed and operated by 100% all volunteers. I would say there are about 30 of us doing the volunteers to do the operations, and each one of us are in professional field in one of the different fields. And so we complement each other running the operations. Today, I am so happy to honor Dr. Chiaki Mukai, and then also to welcome Ray Hatoyama for a later program. So please stay tuned. Lastly, I would like to express a deep and sincere appreciation to our volunteers who spend countless hours on the evenings or on the weekends to run the operations of Keizai activities. So thank you so very much. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce General Counsel of Japan in San Francisco, Mr. Hiroshi Kawamura. And I believe that he has something to show us today that is top secret. So let's stay tuned. And I would like to thank everyone again for joining us tonight. And please enjoy the program. 日本からの皆様もどうぞこの後のプログラムをお楽しみください。それでは川村総領事、どうぞご挨拶をお願いいたします。
Thank you, Jimmy-san. Good evening, everybody. And 日本からの方、おはようございます。It is a great honor for me to attend this 32nd 新年会 hosted by Keizai Silicon Valley. And I wish you all a very happy new year. At the outset, I would like to thank Keizai Silicon Valley for its immense contributions to enhance Japan-US business relations. Last year, even during the pandemic, Keizai Silicon Valley was very active to organize a variety of events, starting from annual Shinnenkai, Tohoku earthquake and tsunami 10-year anniversary commemoration, several webinars, including on COVID-19, and summer networking in the park. I would like to take this opportunity to pay high tribute to Chimi Shioya-san and her team. As for the Consulate General of Japan in San Francisco, we are committed to continue to support Keizai Silicon Valley this year too. And as Chimi-san pointed out, since today this is a Shinnenkai, I was requested to show you my magic. So please enjoy my magic show. Let me start the music. Well, I thank you very much. And now I would like to propose a toast. So please have your glass. Ready? Now, wishing Keizai Silicon Valley and its supporters much health and prosperity in 2022. Let me say cheers and kanpai.
Kanpai.
Thank you very much.
Consul General, thank you so much. What a fun and magical way to start the new year. That's great. I'm speechless. Thank you so much. This year, we are very honored and delighted to be able to present Keizai Silicon Valley's Distinguished Achievement Award to Dr. Chiaki Mukai. Chiaki graduated from Keio University School of Medicine in 1977 and received her license to practice medicine that same year. She worked as a medical staff member at the Department of Surgery in the Keio University School of Medicine, where she eventually received her doctoral degree. Then in 1985, she was selected to be an astronaut by the National Space Development Agency of Japan. Is currently known as JAXA, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. She was a payload specialist. She flew in space in 1994 and again in 1998 as the first female astronaut from Asia. She conducted experiments in life sciences and space medicine under microgravity. From 2005, she became a professor at International Space University, where she provided education aimed at contributing to space medicine research and health management on the International Space Station. Then she worked in promoting space medicine research as director of the JAXA Space Biomedical Research Office, and also as director of the JAXA Center for Applied Space Medicine and Human Research. She became vice president of the Tokyo University of Science from April of 2015, and since 2016, she's been the specially appointed vice president of the same university. To present the award to Dr. Mukai, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Chimi Shioya, the CEO of Keizai Silicon Valley. Chimi, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. So Dr. Mukai, welcome to Keizai Silicon Valley. Among many other things you have accomplished, you are a notable physician by training and also a JAXA astronaut, as Richard mentioned, Dr. Dasha mentioned. What I'd like to mention to everybody today is you broke the glass ceiling for all of us following you, being the first woman astronaut and also first Asian woman in space. And furthermore, you are the first Japanese citizen to be in space twice. So through these programs and also subsequent activities of the peaceful use of the space that you may be talking about today, you have made tremendous contributions to the US-Japan business relations. Therefore, we are so honored to present this to you today. Distinguished Award, Achievement Award, Dr. Chiaki Mukai, in recognition of achieving success by taking the best of both worlds, Japan and the US, Keizai Silicon Valley, January 2022. Dr. Mukai, we are apart by 9,000 kilometers between Silicon Valley and you in Tsukuba in Japan. So therefore, I'm going to pass this on to you. I would like to catch this on your side. So please, here we go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございます。Thank you.
おめでとうございます。
I feel like I'm being in space now. Everything is done by telemedicine, telescience, everything. So thank you. So thank you very much, Shioya-san. Thank you, Richard, for a great introduction. Let me talk a little bit. It seems like my voice is, I'm almost losing my voice. So Ms. Chimi Shioya and the president of Keizai Silicon Valley, Mr. Kawamura, Consulate General of Japan. I really like your magic. And to all the guests, thank you very much for holding the award ceremony. It is a great honor and a pleasure to receive the 2020 Keizai Silicon Valley Distinguished Achievement Award. I'm fortunate to be able to engage in the work I really wanted to do, such as medicine, space, and education, and I'm truly grateful for the recognition of that footprint. I'd also like to express my sincere gratitude to the many people who worked hard on this award. You know, time goes so fast with many precious memories. My life has been enriched by wonderful people who I have met, like you folks. Silicon Valley area is one of the places I visited many times because of my spaceflight training at the Ames Research Center. Staying at the small apartment in Sunnyvale, commuting to the Ames Research Center via heavy traffic Highway 101, I believe still it's heavy traffic, and exploring mountain view for Asian food and visiting San Francisco to enjoy, and so and so. It's a beautiful, nostalgic memory. I flew 2 times in space by the Space Shuttle program under the US-Japan collaboration in human space exploration. I lived in Houston, the nest of US astronauts, for 20 years and feel like Houston is a home away from home. Although to be an astronaut was not a childhood dream of mine, because at that time, no space program in Japan, I feel like that a history of human space exploration is greatly influencing me on my personal life. 60 years ago, Gagarin reported our blue planet. I was 9 years old. 59 years ago, Tereshkova, the first woman in space, flew. 53 years ago, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. These great achievements have opened for human beings a new frontier to explore. Since then, the epoch-making events in space history have inspired our spirits to discover new knowledge. My childhood dream was to be a doctor to help people suffering from diseases. I was a heart surgeon before joining to the Japanese Space Agency. Working as a doctor was so memorable. Why am I interested in space? In 1983, Japanese Space Agency was looking for the Japanese candidates to conduct various kinds of space experiments aboard the US Space Shuttle. I was stunned, realizing that the progress of science and technology in the 20th century had indeed developed and greatly advanced in a way that it enabled ordinary people like me working on the Earth to travel beyond this planet and expand their professions and activities in outer space. Time has really changed. We are now living in an era of utilizing the space environment and realizing its value as a precious resource. What a wonderful era in which to be living, I thought to myself. At the same time, I really wanted to see our home planet from outer space. I applied it and was lucky enough to be selected as the first group of Japanese astronauts. I was so fortunate. I was in the right place in the right time. During my astronaut time, I used medical expertise for the advancement of human space exploration. So what do I do now? I work for Tokyo University of Science as a vice president. I believe the power of education. If I could not have an opportunity to learn something new, I couldn't become a doctor and an astronaut. I love to see the shiny eyes of the students who challenge the future. We encourage the students to learn sustainable development in both space and the Earth. By watching from space, our home planet is magnificent, beautiful, and giving us its natural resources for diverse living organisms living on the Earth. By watching from space, at the same time, we have realized that its natural resources, including air and water, is limited. Our Earth is very fragile. We must think about the better use of the limited resources and work internationally to sustain our precious resources. Our university has established a space colony research unit for developing technologies related to habitation on the moon, such as in the area of energy, food, water, air, and quality of life. We use the state-of-the-art technologies on the Earth to be integrated into the core technologies being used in space, expecting the technologies back to the Earth for future advanced technology. Technologies for living in space gives us a very good model of developing technologies to protect Earth. So what will be the future? This year celebrates the 53rd anniversary of Apollo 11 landing on the moon. I believe I'm not only the one to be encouraged by the Apollo 11 achievement. As a matter of fact, that I have met many US astronauts who have chosen their career because of Apollo 11. Exploration to the moon and Mars has always been a dream for humankind. We are planning to go back to the moon. Also, in recent years, new players from both public and private sectors are emerging to actively participate in space exploration, making the possibility for ordinary people to enjoy space travels, not only to low Earth orbit, but also to moon in future. I'll not be able to see the future 100 years from now because of my lifespan, but I am proud that what we're making every day becomes a part of history. And I want to live without forgetting today's award-winning day. Let me conclude my speech with my favorite words. This message is for young people mainly, and also young at the heart people, like me or you, I guess. The words are, if you can dream it, you can do it. What you do is to simply take one step at a time towards your dream. Of course, the road upon which those steps are taken is seldom easy. But as you strive towards your dream, you'll find your life is enriched with purpose, meaning, and hope. All dreams are important. As long as we cherish our dreams, work hard, and are true to our dreams, which after all are part of us, the dream of a good life will come true. And I, again, strongly believe and would like to emphasize the education enables us to envision and pursue our dreams. So you folks, thank you very much for making such a wonderful day for me. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Dr. Mukai. Those are really inspiring messages. I want to ask a quick question, but before I do, say that if anyone in the audience would like to make a brief question for Dr. Mukai, please write it in the chat. And if we have a chance, we'll get to them in this session. We've got a few minutes to talk. So Dr. Mukai, those are really inspiring words that you finished with. If you can dream it, you can do it. What a wonderful saying. You did say it won't be easy. And I gotta ask, what was it in your career that you found the most difficult, and how did you overcome it?
You know, Richard, well, usually to make a dream happen takes a lot of effort and time. And that is tolerable, I think, if you believe your dream. I think the hardest time for me was the 2 times of Challenger, 2 times of space shuttle the accident, which we didn't
Yeah.
expect, and
Yeah.
we lost our friends, and we lost our pride, lost our science, many things, and we needed to develop something from the scratch. And as a matter of fact, today, January 29th, in the United States time, today is the day that the Challenger accident happened.
That's
So we
right.
lost the third, the Japanese American, the astronaut Onizuka on that
Mhm.
mission. I met him before he was going on that mission. So
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I still remembered that my the knees are shaked actually when I first heard about it. But the kind of encouraging thing was we were so shocked in Japan, but the US side, small children started to donate their small money to restart the space shuttle program after the Challenger. So I was so impressed by the challenging spirits by the even the small children in the United States. Actually, Richard, I worked for the space program long enough to meet the big accident of the space shuttle. The second one was the SS-107 Columbia. I was a deputy mission scientist to help the astronaut working on the in the space to supporting the science. And then the science-wise, everything was so perfect. And we are waiting for them to come back. But on the way to back, it was disintegrated. And then we lost my friends and the Columbia, the orbiter Columbia, which I flew on my first time. And also the science opportunity. And maybe I lost the third opportunity to fly because I was more dedicated to the science astronaut type. But anyhow, at that time also I was so impressed because the David Brown was the one of the crew member, and his father, he was a medical doctor because the mission had a lot of medical related experiments on board. And then his daughter, the father said, don't stop the space program because if you stop it, we don't, the son's the dedication to the space program becomes in vain. So please proceed for the future. So I still, again, I was so impressed because in our life, not only the good time like today, but also everybody has a hard time too, like rainy day and sunny day, but of course the rainy day. But we have to conquer, overcome it. That is our life. So
I think
that was
that's
the hardest type,
No,
like
that's wonderful.
uncontrollable issue.
Because to come that shock really required great strength and also great support from a lot of people. I think that's a really good message for all of us. Some great questions in chat. Akemi asks, what was the most beautiful thing you saw while you were in space?
The beautiful things, of course,
Yeah.
our home planet Earth, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Hitomi asks, how can we encourage more girls to go into STEM areas?
You know that whatever, I think all dreams are important. So if you like something, cherish that something you like it, and then keep going. And then I think someday you'll realize your dream. But I think most important thing is everybody has a great possibility to do something or to become something. Like if you just see some small plant seed, we don't know what it's gonna be if you only see the plant at the seed. But the seed will be a big tree or a seed will be a beautiful flower. A seed will be a very modest but very important flowers. So all of them are important, but you are one of the seed. So believe in yourself and believe in your possibility. That's what I would like to say.
So, thank you. Michelle asks about comparing students to when you were a student and students these days, but I'd specifically like to ask about the group that's at Tokyo University of Science, right? The research group that you have there. How are these students different from people who may have been interested in medicine or in space when you were a student?
Well, but talking about the students are students. Always believe their So no matter how the area is, they always feel like shiny eyes and big stomach, always feel like hungry. So good, hungry spirits for not only the appetite, but also the new knowledge. So I like, well, you know that thanks to the young student and discuss something, they keep me young.
So that's also a great answer. Phil asks, of the things currently happening in activities around space, what are you the most excited about now?
Well, I think like a SpaceX, like a commercialization, the commercial industry or entity are now getting into the new program. And so far, the space program was only led by government. But now the government, as well as the commercialized entity, will work together, including the academia, like your university or our university, etc., and work together to have a joint venture to achieve the future program. Because space is such a big things, so many things to work with. So don't competitive with among the good, healthy competition, welcome. But not the productive competition is welcome. So everybody get together to work together internationally to utilize the limited resource to make the result, the max result happen. That's what I think.
Okay.
The question is a commercial entity to promote the space program, and I think make the more people interested into space, because you feel, oh, maybe not only the professional astronaut, I can do it. I can go to moon, etc.
So I'm going to flip the order of the questions in chat now, because with commercial activities in space, one of our viewers, Kenji, asks how you feel about Maezawa-san's space trip.
Oh, that
this
was
was
wonderful.
The very wealthy person.
Me?
Okay, yeah.
Go
ahead.
Well, I think I welcome Maezawa-san's activity, and that was wonderful because, of course, currently only tycoon or rich people can fly. But that was almost the same time. Like if we think about the back in 1940s, airplane was something like that. Only the limited person who is so rich can ride on the airplane. But thanks to those people who spend a lot of money to encourage that field, now everybody, including the student, can ride on the airplane to move around the anywhere in the earth. Now is the time to utilize the rocket system to vertically go up to outside of the earth. So Maezawa-san actually is a kind of leading position to do something like that. So I really expect him to do more. I think he's now planning to go to moon, I guess.
Okay.
With SpaceX, Elon Musk, those folks.
I see. So this was not his last trip. Okay. have a very kind of deep question here, serious question from Akira, who points out about how nationalism seems to have gotten even more polarizing in recent years. And space activities, as you mentioned in your remarks, are really international. On the one hand, and I'm kind of rephrasing this, how can the international space activities help us here to get beyond the nationalism? And on the other hand, do you have any advice about what needs to happen in space in regard to keeping this kind of bigger than one nation view?
You know, one of the benefits of space exploration is not only by the naked eyes, but thanks to the satellite view, we can see our whole planet, our home planet from the distance. It gives us a bigger picture. So seeing is a believing thing. If you see our small planet compared to the vast the space, you have to think that the resource is so limited. So there's no room or no time to fight each other on this very small planet, but you have so many common enemies for human beings to fight with. For example, COVID-19 is one of them, and global warming is one of them. We cannot see those very well. But without having our collaboration, I think it is very difficult to sustain our beautiful planet. So going back to the nationalism issue, well, this is just my the personal opinion, but right after the World War II, I think the United Nations has established. And the United Nations were the ones that individual small countries work together to feel like they have a benefits to work together. That's why European countries used to be the very small countries becomes the bigger entity like EU or maybe Asian area or that kind of things, because everybody feels like the benefit of uniting something. Now, I always think pendulum is always like this. So after the World War II, the benefit of the united something becomes like this. And then some people feel like, oh, not only the united things, but we want to have the individual benefit. So the pendulum becomes like this. And because extremely partisan, well, something first thing, like my first, or my country first, my city first, or something like that. But I believe that human beings has a very good knowledge and good sense, so that the pendulum goes back to this way to find out the benefit from the viewpoint of individualism. Now it should go back. Then hopefully everything becomes in the middle way, because it needs to have some balance, because nothing has the 100% perfect, always have merit and demerit. So we have to choose the good thing and the bad thing to make the middle way to make more people keep happy, feel happier. That's my personal view.
No, thank you. That's great advice. Only time for a couple of quick questions. First is, Glenn mentions that Toyota's developing a lunar vehicle and JAXA's planning to land on the moon by the end of the 2020s. What can you tell us about Japan's priorities regarding space travel? The moon, Mars, something else?
Well, Japan, if we think about the human-related exploration, the first destination is moon currently, with the international the collaboration called Artemis, led by the United States, NASA. So that's a human exploration. But of course, if we think about the unmanned probe exploration like a satellite, we have asteroid, Mars, even further. I think that will keep going for our curiosity, so that the
Yeah.
Japan has the combination for both very far away as well as that keep distance for the moon. And if we investigate the moon, the living technology to live in such an harsh environment, including the Toyota, the moving, the transportation cars, etc., is the very important technology to give the technology back to the earth. Because the Toyota one has the EV, electrical vehicle, as well as the also the not oxygen, hydrogen, the driven the motor too. So that it's a good combination of utilizing the energy.
So thank you. I'm so happy that you keep this emphasis on cooperation and on doing things together and solving common problems together. If you don't mind, one last quick question from me. There was this wonderful article in the Japanese magazine President recently, an interview of you where you talked about the influence that your family had on you in following your dreams. I wonder if you could tell us just a little bit about how family can play into this whole picture of improving the world.
Oh, the family? Well, family is one of the person who actually support your dream. And I feel like family is usually called mom, the relatives, mother, father, the siblings, etc. But if we say extended family, my friends, etc. So if you have such a good idea, good thing, that good idea or wonderful, the mind will be influencing to the people surrounding yourself. And those people may be working together, and then they will support me as well as I support them. So that is the, I think, strong tie of the family. But most important part is believe in yourself, believe in your dream, and then respect other people's idea to support, to make them happier, which also make me happier too. That's what my family did, or my family taught to me.
Thank you. If you can dream it, you can do it. But those words are really going to stay with me. Thank you so much, Chiaki-san. It's been a real pleasure to be able to invite you to the program, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us in such an open and candid way.
ありがとうございました。皆様ありがとうございました。Thank you.
So everyone, we'll move on to another segment in the program where we have another dialogue on a rather different topic. From the reality of space, now we go to the digital entertainment business. And I'm very happy to introduce a long-term contact, Mr. Rei Hatoyama, who is a highly experienced IT and entertainment executive who specializes in corporate strategy for globalization, corporate governance, and also innovation. Rei was the managing director of Sanrio Company Limited, which everybody knows for Hello Kitty. He was in charge of Sanrio's global expansion strategy. And not only was he able to establish global Hello Kitty as a global brand, but he also succeeded in bringing the franchise to Hollywood. The market cap of the company rose from $500 million to over $6.5 billion within 5 years of the time he joined the company in 2008. At present, Rei is CEO of Hatoyama Soken, his own research and consulting arm. He's also a venture partner with Sozo Ventures, which is a Silicon Valley-based VC. He is an independent director of a number of publicly listed companies. And he also serves as senior executive advisor to various companies in the global entertainment, and also works on funding for startups in Silicon Valley and Japan. Before Sanrio, Ray was part of Mitsubishi Corporation's content division. He managed media content business operations, and he earned an MBA from the Harvard Business School and was chosen one of the 31 most successful HBS graduates of all time in Business Insider. I'm also happy to say that I was able to cooperate with Ray for a year because you came as a visiting scholar to Stanford a few years ago.
That's right.
And spent a year working with us at the US Asia Center. So Ray, it seems to me that everybody's thinking about K-pop these days. And you just see so much happening, exploding in the rest of Asia. What's happened to Japanese digital entertainment?
Yes, I think first of all, I think yes, nothing can beat Kawamura-san's magic as an entertainment. He had a blast, but I think I want to focus more on what kind of IP is or entertainment is really having influence on the global base. There's a lot to talk what's happening in domestic market in Japan.
Sure.
There's a lot you can talk about the US, but I will talk my perspective on what's happening, especially on Japanese digital entertainment, especially here in the US and global. And I think there's two things. One is that Japanese IPs are still very strong, and these IPs work well in digital entertainment industry. And I think I will lay out a couple of IP. For example, from the old days, you can say Godzilla is a great Japanese IP. Actually, it started from 1954. Hello Kitty, which I was involved, it's from 1974. And IPs like Gundam, it came from 1979. And you see this legendary IPs like Godzilla. Last year, we had a movie, Godzilla and Kong, which did over 100 million in domestic market here in the US. So it's still strong. Gundam, you started to see those plastic model in Target and Walmart as well too recently. So you see this and Hello Kitty always has been strong, but it has become global iconic character as well too. So you see these 50s, 60s, 70s IPs strong. And then in the recent years, last year we saw Demon Slayer coming into the US market as well too. Demon Slayer is in Japanese Kimetsu no Yaiba. It was from one property from Sony Group, and it had a blast not only in Japan, but in the US as well too. The big box office of that movie went over 50 million. So you see some legendary IPs really doing very well. But meanwhile, since this digital entertainment, meaning digital animation, digital films are coming to the market really fast, and digital influencers, SNS, social networking. So the information coming from Japan to the US and global has really shortened. So you see this content not only coming with a lot of history, you see that time by time changing, very shortly coming into the US market and make it a successful market as well too. And also, I think in the middle, you see Pokemon. Pokemon is like 25 years. It started from 1996, and it's everywhere. So Charizard Pokemon card is $500,000 US. And some,
Wow.
yes, and some YouTuber bought the first edition of Pokemon card, I think 2 months ago, and it was a fake. But he paid $3.5 million US for that. So you see all those kind of things. Japanese IP working very well in both analog and digital. And right now there's Web3, which is NFT. In the NFT market, some people know, some people might not know, but it's non-fungible token. So you tokenize this IP and set it with blockchain technology. And NFT market for 2019 and 20 was less than 100 million. And 2021, there's a lot of different kind of analysis, but the one from Chain Analysis, it was 42 billion US dollars market. The operator says is 22 billion. So there's a different numbers, but you can see how big it has become, a couple hundred times larger. And on those and on those NFTs, you see so many Japanese IP, which is used illegally as well too. So I think the market is proving that digital entertainment, since Japanese IPs are mostly from origin from game, manga, animation characters, it works very well. It's already digital to a certain extent. So when you say digital, yeah, it adopts very well. So I think, yes, so the first point I wanted to make with Japanese IP are very strong in digital entertainment, especially for global market. And second
Can I
point,
interrupt you for just a second?
yes, sure.
If people would like to ask Ray questions, please put them in chat. And I'll try to be the moderator for the questions that come into chat for this dialogue as well. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's fine. Yes, and I'll go to the second point and leave to the audience for the questions and for you to ask or to elaborate on what we can do today together. But the second point is, so how are we going to use this? And I think there's an issue, always an issue with Japanese companies or Japanese IP about domestic market, which is Japanese market versus global market. And you have seen in the past, for example, music. Music is kind of the things that you started kicked off with. But for Japanese music industry, they make their own music platform and try to make and serve the market by the technology, by the platform, but yeah, it's too small. Meanwhile, Spotify is the one of the big services you have. It goes global. And I think, yes, but since Japanese music players wants to stick into the domestic market, they don't play with Spotify. So you lose this opportunity to go global, or like K-pop first on Spotify, not on Korean limited domestic market. I think the approach is very different. I think it's the same with Netflix versus TVer, which is a kind of Japanese TV platform on digital. Many people said that Netflix is not going to be successful in Japanese market. And I had this argument on TV and magazine as well too. But I always thought Netflix would probably be at a certain point really magnificent in Japan because of the resources you see. And they pay $1 million, 10 million, 100 million to make contents. Meanwhile, Japanese content is usually 100K, 500K, very small budget. So I think time by time it has been switching. And I think global platformers like YouTube, which is part of the GAFA, Google, yeah, they're tremendous. But still, like it's same with manga as well too. Manga, you want to stay with, I think, the weekly magazine, and they want to stick to that platform. Meanwhile, there's a lot of Korean players like Naver, which is doing Webtoon. And I think Piccoma is one of the service for Kakao. They're doing global, Amazon as well too. And manga, suddenly I think we're getting old as Japanese IP because Korean IPs are aiming for global from the beginning and utilizing the global platform. So I think there's a challenge on how can we really utilize our domestic platform, or should we go global on the global platform? And I think the mentality to a certain extent needs to change. And can Japanese people, company, or the IPs can jump into those global opportunity when you see this Web3 era, digital entertainment era?
So we're getting quite a few questions in chat, but I'd like to ask the first. So you mentioned that because of current, technology being very close to real time,
Mhm.
the time between something is created and the time it's possible for world distribution has really shrunk.
Right.
Are you seeing signs in Japan that this kind of greater global consciousness is happening even at the creation stage? Are Japanese creators trying to create international products from the beginning now?
I see some, yes, but very little. I think one of the reason is I think cultural barrier, obviously language barrier as well too, and me myself as well too. When I go to Japan, I see everything Japanese, and even the things I try to wear becomes Japanese as well too.
Yeah.
When I come
Yeah.
back here, yes, I feel like I can dress, I think, more freely, I think speak freely. I think and those mindset really, I think, defines what kind of output you are going to make. I think
Yeah.
at the end, like entertainment is really a content driven, and it's emotional product output as well too. And I think it doesn't matter where you make it. So I see many Japanese IP made in Japan, still focusing on Japanese domestic market. Meanwhile, there are a lot of creators who are active globally as well too. For example, one of the events we saw last Sunday was my friend Nigo. He did it's fashion content, so it's a little bit different. But he's the artistic director for Kenzo brand, and he did invite, for example, Kanye West. He was sitting next to him, and the other side of Pharrell Williams and Taylor, the creator. And for example, he has a lot of friends who lives in Miami, Los Angeles, and New York, and his output of those apparel fashions also international, not just with Japanese taste. But he has all this background and conversation and interaction with international people, and that becomes the output. If he was just living in Japan, only talking to Japanese people, then that could not have happened. That's same with, I think, creation of characters, animation is the same.
So Joe asks, why do you think Hello Kitty was so successful? What
Yes.
was it that made it take off?
I think yes, I think yeah, there are a couple. I think thanks to these companies are real, they have historically invested a lot into Hello Kitty. So first, they came into California, I think, in the 70s, very early 70s. And then I think they started to do the business, but haven't been really able to monetize it. So I think yeah, and Hello Kitty was known very well. So they did marketing efforts for a long time, and what I did was change the distribution, change the design. So basically, change the supply. And because demand was there already, so Paris Hilton was already using it. Lady Gaga said she wants it. Mariah Carey wanted it, and but there was no product, there was no distribution. So the only job I did was distribution, make the product available for people to buy. In the US market, the size was probably 400 million. It became in 5 years close to 1 billion. So I think it was like a sponge. When you put products, the market will buy. So I think it's not about like the strategy, how I did it. It's about the team, but the history is very, very important. And that was the case of Hello Kitty.
So when you're looking at new properties, are you worried about their global potential, or do you just kind of from what they're trying to do in Japan?
I think there's the I'm not so much worried. I think there are lots of international people who's seeking for global presence from the beginning, but not to the extent which you see in K-pop. I think they're studying a lot of Japanese, not only Japanese market, but US market, the history and all that. So if you meet the producer of K-pop, they know so much about US. Yeah, the hip hop culture, the music, they know more than the usual US person. or the person in the industry
Yeah.
in the US. So I think they're making efforts. Meanwhile, I think, for example, does anyone know about the history of US animation in Japan? Or the content which is previously built very well, and how they build that? I don't think so. So I think
Yeah.
they think, I think and there's all lots of bias toward contents all the time, and I think people don't study. So I think if Japanese people start to seriously think about it's same not only with animation, you need to study about the market when you're trying to penetrate the
Yeah.
market. Yeah, it's same with, I think, any product, any service. You need to learn the market, and you need to learn the competitors. And I haven't seen any Japanese company or any strong IP company doing that. I think that's a fundamental problem. If they started to do that, learn, be more humble, I think yeah, people will start to, I think, yeah, be able to go global more.
Okay. So Akemi asks a couple of great questions about the metaverse.
Mhm.
First, I'd like to change it a little bit to ask you, what's happening with the whole evolution of the metaverse in Japan?
Mhm.
So now you've got Oculus here and lots of stuff here. What's
Mhm.
happening in Japan?
Yes, I think metaverse has, I think, a lot of different kind of way to describe. I think, for example, this is metaverse. Zoom says it's part of the metaverse because you're meeting virtually and you live virtually too. Social media, to a certain extent, it is. I think many people, I think, thinks metaverse is a platform like in the game. You meet people, you talk, you communicate. There was something like that from the 80s and 90s. You have
Okay.
a small chat
Yeah.
room. But I think people now can represent themselves and feel that this avatar is me. I think that's the fundamental difference. When you are doing gaming, I think it's like simulating the game in this scenario. But I think what's happening right now is you have an avatar and you feel like that's me. I think that's a fundamental difference. And I think it's more about the generation gap. People are living more on the avatar side, spending more time on the avatar side, so they can feel that it's their identity. So I think the key is, I think, how to make people more into, I think, yeah, to the metaverse is how the people and the person can really identify that avatar as you. And
Yeah.
many people wants to hide the real identity in Japan to begin with. Yeah, they don't use a real name on social, but they can be very strong, different kind of identity. I think, and that's very different from US. I think US is a little bit more like, I want to represent myself into the avatar metaverse. I want to represent who I am in the real world more in the metaverse. Meanwhile, Japan, you want to be a different person. That
Kind of even more ideal, or even, just something very imaginative.
Right. Yeah.
So a couple of follow-up questions on this. I'm going to go to Phil's question first before I come back to Akemi's second question. Japan has been very active in developing virtual reality and augmented reality technologies. How do you see Japan content in regard to this, and how's this market developing?
Yes, I think but I think that's a fair opinion, but at the same time, if you see the investment toward VR, AR, I think it's the zeros are different here in the US. So I think many.
I mean, we have more zeros in the US.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's hidden. It's probably not disclosed as well too. But Apple, like once again, Google, like Facebook, Meta, they invest like hundreds and billions and billions. Meanwhile, Japan, yes, there are a lot of startups, but they raise only like 5-10 millions. Their market cap is less than 100 million. So I think it's true that there are lots of small players in Japan doing AR, VR. But I haven't seen a company who's really investing $1 billion. And there are lots of billion investment in that industry for a single company in the US. So I'll argue back that yeah, is Japan really investing? I think that's the fundamental, I think, issue we're having with the global platform or domestic platform. I think domestic meaning Japanese domestic. I think
So Ray, this is dialogue from me.
Mhm.
If the really good opportunities were there, the investors might be investing more. Do
Mhm.
you see a way to encourage Japanese entrepreneurs to look more at these new kinds of types of content? Do they need to? Do they need to spend a week in Silicon Valley, or what would help?
Yeah, so I think so which kind of layer do you want to be? I think a platform you need an investment of 100 millions
Yeah,
or billions.
yeah, that's
Right.
big. No, I'm
Like,
talking about the
right.
actual content to go
Yes,
on top
right.
of
So
the platform.
content, IP, I think
Yeah.
those. I think Japanese companies, in my perspective, needs to narrow down what can be best on
Mhm.
the utility, user interface. Always the details is the devil, but it can become, I think, really the strengths as well too. So how can you
Yeah.
knock down details? Those are the kind of things I think usually Japanese people, Japanese company are good at. So I usually recommend not do everything and
Okay.
focus on one or two things you really want to focus on.
Yeah. So back to Akemi's question, she's asking about NFTs being the future of the metaverse.
Mm.
And I'd kind of like to put it in context. You mentioned this incredible explosive growth between 2019 and 2020,
Mm.
or 2016 and 2020. And is this Gartner hype cycle about to have a huge drop before we get really steady, sustained growth? Or how do you see this developing?
Yes, it already dropped, I think 60-70% last week.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So
So
I
maybe
think
that was the drop.
so I think yes, there's lots of up and down, which that happened last year as well too. And so I think the market is like internet bubble as well too. So you can't really predict. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of companies and service which has a lot of utility and has a lot of, I think, great ideas. Not just, I think, the fake utility or
Yeah.
just like pet.com, which didn't have
Mhm.
anything on the background.
Yeah.
So I think there are some real companies or real utilities, and as a user or a licensor or like an investor, yeah, you need to find the right one. you
Yeah.
need to find the
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I believe in the market, yes, but yes, you need to, I think, really find the signal which is right. And also I think, yeah, the market is once again, like for example, Pokemon. If you search for Pokemon NFT on OpenSea, which is the largest NFT market,
Yeah.
the hit is over 500,000,
Wow.
and nothing is real. And even the Beeple's 69 billion NFT, the first 5,000 days, it has Pokemon in it. So the difficulty is I think yes, people are already using it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
some people are really believing in it, buying it. And how can you really make it legitimate is, I think, how the big players come in, how the regulation comes in. And I see that happening. Nike just bought a month ago a company called Artifact, which is a NFT sneaker. Their sneakers sell like in 7 minutes, 3 million. So, and Nike bought that. So
Mhm.
yes, some people really believe in it. Nike, the biggest sneaker player, believe in that. So I
Yeah.
think something is happening.
Yeah. Moving on, Christopher asks about Japan's copyright laws. He says Japan's strict copyright laws, right? And he asks if they affect the promotion of Japanese media and music content on platforms like YouTube and Netflix.
Mhm. Yes, I
Is
think
there a legal problem there, legal structural problem there?
I think the other way to say US has a fair use. So if it's fair use, yeah, you can use it. So and in Japan you don't have it. So I think it's it's much more stricter in Japan compared to the US market. So I think it's not easy to use it unless you have really talk with those IP players. Meanwhile, here, yeah, you can use it if it's a fair use without paying the money or pay. Yeah, and there's a lot of, I think, the legal things probably, yes, but that, and that's part of it. But I think it's more about the mentality and
Okay.
how you open up.
Yeah. Glenn asks, what are the top 3 things Japan needs to do in order to be more successful in conveying its soft power, right? The power of kind of soft diplomacy abroad, like South Korea does.
Mhm. Yes, I think 2 things. This is going to be controversial, but immigration, in my point of view, immigration and diversity. So diversity on the board always helps. I think, and we're not talking about, for example, male and female, boys and girls. So we're talking about, yes, the different kind of color of people, and we don't have that. We don't call it diversity in Japan. Diversity is about, yeah, how many a female needs to be, and that's not diversity in the US. So I think how do you present the people in the room with the audience you want to have? You don't have that in Japan. I think and people needs to really recognize that's happening when you're doing marketing. Oh, I think US people will think like that. And that doesn't work. Even in the US, that doesn't work because
Yeah.
it's so diverse and
You need someone there
yes,
from that point of view. Yeah.
right. And the audience is also diverse. It's not going to be one person. You need at least a couple of people, generations or the color of the skins or the way they think. Okay, so I think to really have that in a company or the IP or marketing, I think Asian company has a lot to do, and it's not that easy. But I think K-pop Korean people are doing that to a certain extent. So so we really need to catch up. I think that's
And I do think things can be speeded up in Japan. I'm seeing some startup companies, not necessarily media and entertainment related, but I'm seeing some startup companies with international founding teams.
yes, right.
And that's exciting because you get that different point of view and a bigger perspective of where the company wants to go.
Right.
I think that's a really good point, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I see many US people going to Japan and trying to make a Japanese business from there to go global as well too. And I see many different kind of way doing business. So I hope that it comes both way as well too.
Yeah. So GM asks, you mentioned the fundamental problem of Japanese content creators not studying the American or global market like the Korean creators do. Is this due to ignorance or the Japanese really not interested in the global market enough to make the effort?
Yes, I think I think this is a human nature. If you don't see, you really can't feel
Kind
and
of what's right
understand.
in front of you. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And also there's a lot of bias around what you see. For example, many Japanese people do come to the US and go to New York, go to Los Angeles, and oh, I experience US. And go to the tourist place. For example, come to Silicon Valley and go to Fisherman's Wharf, go to Apple office and see Stanford. Oh, I learned US. Oh, that's not really learning about US.
Yeah.
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 But people are happy and like biased, and sometimes I think they take it very differently. So I think studying it sometimes need an extra effort to really take off all those bias and really see what's happening in the market, and that's not easy. So I think yes, people are trying to do from Japan and in many industry and in many I think yeah, entertainment people as well too, but it's just not that easy. So I think
Yeah.
people who goes more deeply into what they really need to do, as they're doing those in their own market will be successful. So I encourage to keep going more deep, more.
If I can add my own comment to this, I have to say that the Japanese market's a big market. You know, Japan is the fourth largest economy in the world, depending on how you calculate gross domestic product. In a country that has a smaller GDP like Korea, I think you see the need to go international sooner. The extreme case of that is Israel, where you only have 8 million people. And so, you know, I think that in some ways Japan's in an awkward spot because it's big enough to be distracting and away from the global thing. Last question for our session today. I want to ask you, do you see opportunities for Silicon Valley companies in better connections or helping the Japanese media and entertainment industry to grow?
Yes, I do. I think one good example is Niantic. Yes, for example, they teamed up with Pokemon Go, and I see in the chat some people plays Pokemon Go. I'm level 50, so just to let you know. Yes, but I think and I think yes, when you combine the technology and the capital you can raise here and put it into the business, and you see different results. It could not have happened with the Japanese gaming company partnership with Pokemon and making games. It would not have become this successful. And I see many new startups coming as well too, and wanting an IP. And Japan can be a solution for that. So I think yes, people should seek for new technology innovations or a partner in Silicon Valley or any other global part of the world as well too. But here it's easier to access those new startups, new technologies, and this is one of the places I really recommend people to look for partnership. I did for Hello Kitty as well too. Facebook was here, Twitter was here, Snapchat I met through Silicon Valley, and there was a lot of like Facebook app companies like Slice and Rocky as well too. That was what I did in 2008, and all those influencer marketing was really fruitful as a result. So come here, let's do something. Yes, I definitely recommend.
Yeah. So Ray, thank you so much for great comments today. I think you're very opening about how strong Japanese IP is and how lasting the value is for things like Hello Kitty, for things like Pokemon. You know, that's a great thing to remember. And, you know, this is kind of inspiring to get us moving and seeing what kind of business relationships we can start. Thank you so much for your comments today. Great way to start the year. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you always, Richard. And I hope to see you soon face to face.
Yes, we've got to have a cup of coffee or stronger.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. So we're coming to the close of the plenary part of the program today. But before we do, I'd like to give the microphone to Akemi Koda, who will talk to us a little bit about the events coming up for Keizai this year. Akemi?
Yes. Hi. We are planning to have the joint event Keizai Silicon Valley and the German American Business Association on March 3rd, Thursday. The topic is surfing risk, coping and thriving in the climate challenge future. Learn how business can thrive when market, infrastructure, and supply chains are disrupted, and vast amount of capital spend recovery from disaster. I hope to see you on March. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Akemi-san. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and we're going to finish up with the closest thing we can get to real life networking by moving into breakout rooms. Before we do, to close the formal program, I'd like to ask Chiaki-san if you would like to say one word at the end of our program. Are you still on?
Oh, yes, I'm still on. So thank you
Okay.
very, yeah, the Richard-san. So thank you very much for having me to this such a very interesting meeting. And also I'm very much honored to have recognized by such a wonderful committee for the our award. So again, thank you very much. And I hope that you have a great success on your future plan too. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Everyone, we're going to do the breakout rooms now. Is somebody going to explain how this works? Who's going to help people see? We will have a facilitator from Keizai, Silicon Valley, in each one of the rooms. Basically, we want everybody to do self-introduction and just ask one or two fun questions to each other. And we may come back here briefly just to tie things up in about 10 or 15 minutes, as long as the rooms seem to be going well. But want to encourage you, if you see the button that comes out, join breakout room, please click on that, and we'll move on from here. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.